Alright, so right now we'll be discussing doing the install of the Pine and the Cascade. They're both the same routing, and these are both externally routed posts, so it's a little different anchor mechanism for the C-post itself. Cutting the housing, similar to the other videos, you want to give yourself a pretty normal bend that allows you to turn the handlebar without having the housing or cable pull tightly. I've already cut this housing to length, and you do want to make sure when you cut the housing you use the 90-degree bend noodle that comes with the lever, because if you don't, it'll make the housing a little bit longer and you'll have to cut it again. So this one's going to go along the down tube, or the top tube, I'm sorry, just underneath it. And it's best to route the housing on the opposite end of the head tube that the lever's on. Just gives a better bend. If I run it on this side, it's just going to create too many kinks in the cable. So we'll get our housing kind of stuck in the right position, and the next thing we want to do is, it'll be a little difficult to see, but this is actually a pretty good angle. You want to remove this plastic cover so we can get the cable in the actual dropper post itself. And to do that, you can kind of see what I did there. It just peeled up on this little lip and it just pops the whole thing off. You don't have to use an excessive amount of force. So I have the cable, I have the C-post rotated this way just so you can see the window. All you're gonna do is slide the cable head in that little slot and let it sit right there. The next step is getting the plastic cover on. On the plastic cover you can see there's a little slit, and that's where the cable slides through. So you just slide the cable through so it's coming through that hole. Make sure you don't lose the head in that window. Get that top piece in first, and then you can kind of snap the rest down. So now your cable's in, you don't have to worry about it, it's not going to come out. The next thing we want to do is pretty straightforward. And when you get this all the way up, we want to make sure this is nice and snug and inserted all the way. So on the plastic ferrules you want to see basically the three stripes, you shouldn't see any of the solid part. So this whole part should insert in there nice and snug. You can zip tie the housing at the end if you'd like, but just for instructional purposes we'll show you how to get this in. So you have your 90-degree cable noodle here. You want to make sure your barrel adjuster is adjusted all the way down, so if you need to you can pull a little bit more cable. Go right to the back side here. There's a small insertion point. Fuzzies at the end of your cable. And you want to make sure that sits in there nice and snug as well. Again, we can zip tie these down at the end. And then the slightly tricky part, which I will go over again for you. So we want to take our cylinder, which we have here. Again, you have a 2 mil on this side, or I'm sorry, a 3 mil on this side and a 2 mil on this side. When you're turning it, you only turn the 2 mil. The 3 mil just holds it in place. And then we have to find that kind of sweet spot where there's a small cradle. So again, push it in, it'll stop. I'm going to go from this side so you can see it. So we'll push that in and it stops because it's hitting that cradle piece. And then what we can do is you can take your 2 or your 3. And now you're all the way through. Got a nice shot of my fat head in the way. And then you're just going to cinch this guy down. Keep a little bit of tension on the cable when you do so. And you don't have to tighten this like crazy. Again, I'm only turning the 2 mil. Let's see if it works. It does. Look at that.